Looks like he's a good visitor.
Needs to have a desk.
Good. Call this Thompson Select Board meeting to order August 18th, 2022. Joe, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, Patty, would you call the roll, please?
I will. David Douglas.
Amir?
Marie Brilliant. Here. Ruth Lyons. And I see Roland Thompson's visiting us prior.
I'm here, yes.
Matt Nixon has been excused.
There you go. Thank you, Patty. Town managers report.
Hey, welcome everyone. Two select board seats and one MSAT 75 board of directors position are open for the upcoming November election, and the nomination papers may be picked up at the tax clerk office. Property tax stabilization applications are available for Thompson residents on the town website and at town hall. An eligible taxpayer must be 65 years and older, be a permanent Maine resident, and have owned a qualifying homestead in Maine for at least 10 years. Eligible taxpayers may apply for the program until December 1st of 2022 this year. If approved, stabilization will first apply to property taxes committed during the calendar year of 2023, based on assessment date of April 1st, 2023. Tax bills issued based on property taxes committed during calendar year 2022 will not be affected. Just got word that the Finance Authority of Maine, otherwise known as Maine, is offering 2 loan programs for profit and some nonprofit businesses. Small businesses in Maine may be eligible to apply, and the two programs are called Thrive Maine and Grow Maine. Thrive Maine, this is a forgivable loan program for businesses and nonprofits with fewer than 500 employees that demonstrate COVID-related negative economic impacts. The program is funded by the American Rescue Plan Act. And just a little brief information here on this particular program. Full amount of funds to be distributed from a minimum of $10,000 to a maximum of $2 million. And it's on a first come, first served basis. The loan forgiveness is at a rate of 25% per year over a 4-year period. And there's some guidelines with that. And forgivable loans will be administered again on a first come, first served basis. The second program is called Grow Maine. Romaine is intended to provide broad access to capital to help businesses with fewer than 750 employees. It'll help provide jobs that will have long-term impact or positive effects on Maine's economy, and that's the intent. Funding is available through Maine and its intermediary partners via loan guarantees, direct loans, and equity capital. Program information is available at www.mainemaine.com, and we will continue to notify commercial property owners and businesses of these programs. We've already reached out via email to those businesses that are registered on our Thompson website. And work is currently being underway to repair mortar on the municipal and public safety buildings. If you haven't noticed, during the day it can be quite loud and a little dusty. The work should be complete within the next 6 weeks on both buildings. And on Saturday, September 10th at 2 p.m., Six Rivers New England Mountain Bike Association, otherwise known as MEMBA, will be hosting the grand opening of the pump park located at Thompson Solid Waste Facility. The association is appreciative for the town's support and hopes to see the select board and the public at the opening.
Now, what was that date then?
Yeah.
It is September 10th at 2 p.m. and everyone's invited.
Any questions of the manager? Thank you. Board committee reports and updates. First, update from Thompson Library, Susan Priest, Library Director.
Hi there. And I'm bringing with me, hello. I usually have no problem being heard, imagine. I'm bringing with me my board president, Deborah O'Neill, and vice president, Kelly Glidden. And we're here to talk a little bit about what's been going on at the library and let you know what we've been up to. So thank you, Mark, for making me a panelist, and I will start you here. Hopefully that'll come up. There it is. We are looking at all of the exciting things that happen when you dwell in the possibilities. And that's our theme for this coming year, but it also culminates what has been a very productive 2022, fiscal 2022. Okay, we'll go down, maybe we won't.
Okay. It does not seem to want to. There we go. Okay, now it's really loud. Sorry about that. Yeah, who's that?
Mute yours.
I already muted mine. It's gone.
No, you're not.
So I need,
Hey.
Go back to unsharing this.
Sorry, guys.
Gives me time to find things I forgot to bring. And then. Go back into the Zoom.
Yeah.
It's just a question. So it's the screen that shows.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe I.
Okay,
Yes.
it's not there.
Actually, did you reboot?
I did not. Do you want me to try to get in again?
Yeah, you have to log in again.
Okay, sorry about this. Turn it out here, or-
If you want to.
Yeah.
And then here, mute that.
yeah.
There you go.
Yay.
Now,
So now we're good. So now I have to share screen. And then I will go back up. So here we go. I just finished telling everybody I was an information professional. That was really professional. Okay, so we're dwelling in the possibilities, and thank you for all the assistance to everyone in the room and your patience. I'm Susan Priest, Deb O'Neill, our president, Kelly Glidden, our vice president. So we had a lot of possibilities this year, and we thought we'd share some photographs with you. And I'm going to have Deb O'Neill come forward. So long as oh, thank you very much.
So good evening. We wanted to point out some of those statistics of our success in the past year. You can see that I'm not going to read every piece of this, but I wanted to highlight a couple of the notes here. One was that 439 new cardholders came in addition to our past year. We have at least, I believe, 50% of Topsham residents as cardholders, which is very awesome, we believe. And also 523 non-residents purchased. So again, if you're not a resident, you have that option to purchase a library card at Topsham Public Library, and those are 75 cents, excuse me, $75 per card. So that is also good for us. As of July 31st, we had 147 patrons come through the doors. And again, Susan says that's a minimum count. But that's a good sign also, as we're kind of moving in this pandemic world that we're at 147. Another really piece of good news for us is there was a 10% increase in fundraising from the year before. We had a tremendous matching gift given to us of $5,000, which raised over $14,000 in our spring campaign. So those were really good. We feel that this was a very successful year. We're ready for the next year. This next slide shows information on the library service value for every tax dollar. So let me walk you through this briefly. It's a lot of numbers and a lot of detail, and I'll try to do a quick flyby. So in the blue, you're going to see the dollar amount of items checked out of the library in the past year, and that's 1,785,881. And also the town contribution of 758,000. That number plus TPL fundraising, bequest, the value of volunteer help. In addition, we see what friends do most of the fundraising for our programming. So that was over $13,000. The value of programs such as PRIA, Garden Club, 4-H, Historical Society, plus the value of volunteer programs. All that equals at the very bottom in this detailed calculation that I don't have in front of me, that is very complicated. That equals, and then it takes the population in the town of Topsham. And the bottom line is the numbers are used and to calculate the service value for every tax dollar, which is $19.07. So we believe the combination of town support and community member support have made this year at Thompson Public Library very successful. If you have any questions about this or need more understanding, Susan's the person to see. But we're very happy with those numbers.
We also wanted to give you a sense of the library landscape across the United States, across the Maine, and in Thompson. We really try to strive for proactive management, looking at the things that are coming down the pipe or that are affecting library service, not only here, but throughout the country. On the national landscape, you may have heard of some issues with freedom of information. So nationally, the library community is trying to affirm core library values of intellectual freedom, availability of access, equity, diversity, and inclusion. They're also working for ensuring economic stability to provide library service across the United States. The new budget that was, or the new, the legislation that was passed in Washington this week provides some additional monies, the first time in 26 years, from the federal government to public libraries across the state, across the country. So, and the focus is always on the public library's role as community support in education, economic prosperity, and community involvement. Democracy as it is. The Maine library landscape is also very complicated this year. There is new leadership at the state level. 6 people have left very significant leadership roles in the state of Maine. So 2 key members of the Maine State Library staff, the state librarian and the development curriculum development, they call it. It's continuing education for libraries and librarians. And then at Maine InfoNet, which is the technical side that brings all of the computers together and provides all the services for the online portion of our work. They have lost 4 of 10 executive board members who are retiring and primarily retiring. The one is leaving for another job. The third item that we're dealing with is that we are in a cycle where we are gonna need to be reviewing a consortium-wide circulation system. We have a system that we've been using, it's called III Sierra. And that is a contract that is with the state, that with the vendor and the state. That's where what most of the libraries in the Minerva consortium, where we are a part of, get their internet access, get the circulation system to start off. It's the thing you see when you click on the Thompson Public Library, look at the catalog and these kinds of things. And in the Thompson Public Library landscape, as you're aware, we're preparing also for leadership changes. Right now, we're focusing on reviewing our policies and procedures, creating the best practices manual for our trustees and staff, and reviewing, as we always do, the needs of the 18-year-old buildings.
So we also wanted to talk a little bit about opportunities, and I think this comes back to our theme for the year, dwelling in possibility. And keeping always at the forefront of that question of what if, what is possible, what are the opportunities out there? Our long-range plan goals include assisting with the comprehensive plan implementation. And we are always committed to exploring innovative and efficient ways to work with partners throughout the community for the public good, whether that's the Career Center, the Mary Meeting Gleaners, looking for those ways that we can partner and bring new and exciting things to the community. And as we think about budget requests and what they mean in different quarters to patrons, that means the consistency and stability of access to library services. They can count on us from year to year to be providing services. To taxpayers, that means the cost of providing public services to the community. To businesses, it's economic support, providing quality workers and customers to the community. And to the community as a whole, the library can function as a third space. So someplace besides home or work, or to provide a place for people to connect with others and find that sense of community, whether that's joining a book group at the library, using the community room, whatever that may look like. And as we wrap up our presentation, we just wanted to express our commitment to open communication. And that means reviewing assumptions, being open to new ideas, discussing needs and wants, connecting with a larger community, as I was just talking about, and all of that comes down to compromising, planning, and moving ahead. And then finally, we just wanted to highlight our next couple of dates for our opportunities to meet with all of you. So November 14th and March 20th are what we have on the calendar.
And then just wrapping up, in this public wood, a community center for all. We want to emphasize that the Thompson Public Library has continued to adapt to these changing times. You can see by the pictures, we've offered both inside and outside programming because we know we have patrons that may still prefer outside. And so now with the nice weather, we have a big tent, so we're able to offer more outside also. As Kelly noted, that third space, which is not home or work, can be a place to create community. And so we're looking forward to those possibilities with our theme of dwelling in the possibility. So we see many possibilities ahead. And we believe that the combination of town support and community member support have made this year at Thompson Public Library a very successful one, and we're poised for an even stronger one ahead. Thank you.
We also wanted to mention that the Thompson Public Library Board of Trustees meets once a month at the Thompson Public Library, usually the third Wednesday of the month at 7 o'clock, and everyone's welcome to attend. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to try. The book sale's coming. The book sale's coming. It's September 7th, 16th, 17th, 18th. The Friends, after a little bit of an absence last year, we're gonna have that book sale again and raise money for programs, so.
I got one question. Susan.
Sure.
And it's at that state level with the library, you said the two key positions, one of them is the continuing education.
Yeah.
With somebody not being there, is that Will the program still run for you guys that you're able to get your stuff?
Yes,
Okay.
we will be able to run. What the issues are is that that there's 3 key positions there. One does Federal Library Services and Technology Act funding. There's a huge amount of paperwork and connection that you have to do with Washington. The other is basically library development, which is the continuing education part. And
So individuals aren't getting continuing education credits?
no.
Okay, that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking that,
yeah,
okay.
no. So I mean, the Maine Library Commission is working toward hiring a new state librarian as soon as possible. And then that person will then hire the development. And right now there's a person who's unfortunately relatively new, but comes with an extensive background from the American Library Association of Washington, who is sort of holding it together with duct tape.
That's a lot of people missing.
Yeah,
Any questions? Roland, do you have anything also? I gotta keep remembering to look at it. No, thank you.
thank you,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Next up, we have an update from the Thompson Fire Department. Chris Mclaughlin, Fire Chief.
I have extra copies. You guys want them? Or you good? Didn't-
It's in the,
I don't think so.
so we.
Yeah, I gave one to Patty though. She got one.
Whatever.
Thank you. You're welcome. Good evening, Chris McLaughlin, Fire Chief. I'm just gonna run down through the highlights of some of the things the fire department does, the things we're working on. Staffing, obviously, the #1 priority in all of public safety, and not just public safety, but everywhere. We continue to hire really good quality per diems, had a lot of good applicants lately. But the nature of per diems is when they call out, it's last minute and they're hard to fill, so you notice some openings once in a while, but we have been getting some good applicants, I can say that. Full-time staff, we've been full. We have one that's leaving in September, so I put an ad out to hire that. We've had a couple people reach out with interesting questions already, so we're hoping that process will go quickly. We restructured the deputy chief's position about a year ago and turned it from an EMS director into a deputy fire chief. And his main goal has been operations, working with the crews every day, going on calls. That's received very well from our staff. Public has noticed. That's worked out really well, making that administrative change. So that's been beneficial to us. Equipment, Rescue 1's out of service. The reason I mentioned that, it's been out there a couple of weeks, need a new turbo, waiting on parts. The reason I mention it is because having that third rescue has been invaluable. We've talked about that, I don't know, a year and a half ago. Today we had to call Brunswick because we had 3 rescue calls. There was 3 occasions today where we had both rescues on the road. So had we that second rescue been out of service, we would have called Brunswick 3 or 4 times today alone. So having 3 has been superb, and we've used it quite often. So, but unfortunately right now we're down to 2. We approved a new utility truck back in May, at town meeting, sent that out to bid to 5 dealerships. 2 sent back letters saying they weren't interested, and 3 never responded. So we sent another letter saying second request, and hopefully somebody says, oh, well, they had no bids the first time, we'll bid on this. If that doesn't happen, then we'll have to look at some other alternatives, maybe reach out to little dealerships extended, not so close to our area, or used maybe, things of that nature, but you know how the market is right now. That leads me to my next piece is equipment costs continue to rise. Ambulances right now are 2-year build times. So if I was to order an ambulance today, I'm looking at 2 years. The ambulance we ordered 2.5 years ago is about $40,000 more than what we paid for it. Stretcher system, we paid $32,000. I think that's up to $45,000 now. So just to keep in the back of our minds that when it comes time to purchase a new ambulance, we might want to consider doing it early so we actually get it when it's supposed to be here. And we might be able to save money, but that's something we continue to look at. I've talked to lots of vendors already, and every single one of them are saying 2 years. And some vendors aren't even bidding anymore. I know one that didn't even put a bid out because they don't have enough chassis. Same with fire trucks. Luckily, we don't have to buy a fire truck anytime soon, but so that continues to be something we look at. Inspections, we do inspections for wood stoves, pellet stoves, boilers, any gas appliances, hot water heaters, fire alarms, sprinklers, liquor license renewal, marijuana license renewals. And then if we get a complaint or we see something on a rescue call or a fire call, we'll do a follow-up inspection. So we continue to do that. That's been very busy. Crews do daily training pretty much every day. Community outreach. This year we participated thanks to Chief Hagan National Night Out, which was very successful. A lot of the stuff that we brought to National Night Out was the same stuff we would bring to our open house. So in lieu of the open house, we're going to participate in that yearly in conjunction with the police and public works. But I've been already in contact with the schools this summer about getting in during fire prevention week. I spoke to the superintendent and principals, and we will be teaching K through 12, not K through 12, K through 2, all the little kids inside the school fire prevention. So we're working on scheduling that. We've ordered some stuff for that already. So that's something we haven't done in the past. That's been on our radar. And now that COVID has kind of subsided and we can get back into the schools, that's what we're going to do in the fall. So National Night Out and in the school. CPR, we're very busy with CPR training. We seem to be the only ones that teach CPR. I don't know why. We try to keep it cost effective. You know, our goal is to teach people how to do CPR. We don't try to use it as a moneymaker, but we cover our costs. I did numbers and we've taught 155 people since January of last year, CPR, first aid, and AED. So that's a huge number. We just did 7 more yesterday. So with that, our CPR equipment is getting old, so that might be something I might have to think about in the next 2 to 3 years at some point replacing that. But not anytime majorly soon. EMS, there's always changes with EMS. The recent change is we're going to have to require annual flu shots now. So the state's not going to track that. That's going to be left to us. So I don't really know how that's going to work out. So we've been having meetings regarding flu shots and what strain of flu shot they got to get, how many. So there's still a lot of unanswered questions, but that's something that's on our radar. And obviously COVID, we still do see some COVID cases, but internally within the fire department, we've been pretty healthy and PPE's been helping us with that. Call volume, through yesterday, we're up 222 calls this year. That's on pace to be over 400 calls for service increase this year, which is 22%. That's significant. Usually it's around 4 or 5% difference. I think last year we went up 20 calls for the whole year. I kind of looked it around to see what it was, and it was a little bit of everything. It was EMS, fire, mutual aid fire calls. Voting hands remain relatively the same for the last year. I looked at those numbers. But it's been pretty well across the board and everything that we've been up. So we are busier. We're doing a lot. I can say that I'm proud of the members that we have. It's amazing we cover what we do with what we got. And they never complain. They do a phenomenal job. And then moving forward, we just continue to look at the new developments, the nursing home up in Highland Greens on the radar, and the big mobile home park we're keeping an eye on. Obviously, the big commercial expanses and projects are things that are going to only affect us a little bit. So we continue to monitor all those. And that's the fire department in a bubble.
That 22%, what, you said it's a little bit of everything. What
Yeah.
is the majority?
EMS is up.
Chief, one of the things, so I attended school board budget meetings early in the year, and there were troubles with, same thing with your ambulances, trouble finding to buy buses. And one of the members there, and I agreed with him, so I would ask you the same. At some point, school department and even fire service, won't you have to start exploring? All right, we have 3 ambulances. It's 2.5 years out. Or is it better or cheaper, easier to get a complete rehab of a vehicle than sitting and waiting? Whereas I know the school department, there has to start to be those conversations.
There are some options. Remounts is something that can be done if you have the right ambulance in place now to do a remount, but it still leads us to the same problem. Because the remount, they take the box, the back, we do the patient care, and they put it on a new chassis. So if your chassis has 100,000 miles, you can take the old box, put it on a new one. But if they can't find chassis, remounts don't work either. So it's merely a supply issue is what it comes down to. They just don't have ambulances in production, it's just backlog.
Road sold.
I don't have a good answer for that.
No,
Yeah.
I'm looking at it.
On the CPR classes, can anybody sign up for that and how would they do it and how much does it cost?
It's on our website, so it's $50 a person, and that covers our staff and our books, and they get a CPR card through email. We don't have classes regularly scheduled, but if they call me, I inform them if you can get 3 people, that covers our costs, call us back, pick a date, and we'll make it work. Half the time they come here, and half the time we go to them. So if it's a daycare, we might go to them and do it. But they can come here too, and yesterday's class was upstairs here. So all you gotta do is call, find a few people. If we have a class going, I'll say we got a class next month, you can jump in. But sometimes we don't have one, and it's up to them to find a couple people to make it work.
I have another question. You hear a lot about the drugs and the overdoses and stuff. How is that in Thompson? We're pretty consistent. Have you seen an
Well, I'm
upswing
kinda,
in that?
my community before here was drastically different. We don't see a lot of it in Thompson. I'll be frankly honest. You hear a lot of it on the news, but compared to where I worked previously and some of the staff that I have that work in other communities, Thompson's been very good as far as that aspect goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
2 things, the last 2, very happy with the K-2 getting into the schools. It's always, I brought it up to other chiefs and I kind of just dropped the ball over the years, but it always bothered me that my kids never had any fire safety training within the school or any of that. And that seems to be something that it has to take place. And I'm glad the schools allowed you in and such, so I'm happy with that. And then kind of where Marie, the CPR. And I don't know if $50 is a good rate, bad rate, but let's make sure they're paying for all the equipment too, not just time and books, but
We make it a little bit,
okay.
probably not enough to offset the equipment. But I don't have a line that it goes to, it just goes into the
Mm.
CPR revenue. So, it covers our time and we do end up a little bit on the plus side.
Mhm.
I don't want it so close that we are
No,
costing money.
No, I get it.
We could go up, but I also, it's a fine line. I want people to get the class. And I think that's just as important as making money. So,
That's not making
gotta
it, it's
balance
just,
it.
it's,
right.
we offer a service and it takes all of this to create this service for you. That's, that, and I understand the line.
Yeah, I plan to this year look at costs of CPR equipment. And then kind of see where we're at and if we can offset that over the next year or 2 to cover that expense. Yeah.
Any quit rolling?
There's a-
Good. Good presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, chief.
We got it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, around the rooms we go. Update from the Thompson Police Department.
Where's the library
I
going?
know, they're running
I
around.
have to go give grandma dinner. I'm sorry.
Evening, Mark Hagan, Chief of Police. I'm gonna start real quick, just talking about some of our numbers. Unlike the library, when our numbers are up, it's usually a bad sign for the town versus what they're dealing with. So at this point last year, comparatively speaking, we are up 69 additional arrests or criminal summonses at this point. We're up an additional 238 traffic stops. Another 115 summonses higher than last year. And probably the bigger one for us this year is 32 additional motor vehicle crashes so far this year. And if you've been following our Facebook posts, you'll see that crashes across the state of Maine are up in high numbers. In fact, fatal motor vehicle accidents are far exceeding any past numbers from the last 5 to 6 years. So it's an obvious concern. Roughly 30% of the crashes are because of increased speed. So we're doing what we can here in Thompson to address the speed issues. And I believe, to be honest with you, law enforcement agencies across the state are trying to deal with that. So, so those are briefly some of our numbers. Probably what's more alarming out of those numbers is our overall calls for service are down by about 500 calls for service. So the fact that those numbers are up while the rest of our calls are down just tells you that
the calls we are going on are more serious. The fact we're issuing more summonses, crashes, and, the additional traffic stops. So our numbers are up. Our numbers are up while our numbers are down, to be honest.
Well,
with
if
you.
you can arrest them before they commit another crime, your numbers would go.
Yeah, if we could, and then if we could hold them, that'd be even better. We appreciate that more. So what's surprising with our numbers is I'm very proud of our officers because of what I'm about to talk about now, which is we've had 3 officers resign since the beginning of the year. 2 of them decided that law enforcement wasn't exactly their appropriate career path. And then we had another officer that went to another agency. So that brings up one of our bigger challenges that I believe the fire chief also mentioned, which is hiring of staff. When you talk to other chiefs around the state, though, sometimes it makes you feel better when you find out we're not the only ones dealing with this. In April, there was a study that showed in Maine, there's currently, well, as of April, there were 300 open law enforcement positions in the state of Maine. So when you're talking about only 2,700 officers in the state of Maine, 300 is a pretty significant number. So it's increasingly difficult to find officers. And then if you find officers, you really got to work to retain them because, I'll show how old I am. When I was hired in the 90s, it was almost unheard of for people to leave an agency. Once you start with that agency, it's where you stayed. And now it's not that way. And, people are far more likely to jump around if they think that the grass is greener in another environment. So we're really fighting with each other as far as law enforcement agencies for the staffing that's out there. And a lot of agencies are openly trying to hire what we call blue pins, which are certified officers from other agencies. Basically because it takes so long to train somebody up. We hired Officer Nico Ruiz. We hired him last November. We just sent him to the academy Monday. So he'll graduate mid-December. So we're basically talking a year from the time we hire somebody there in training until they're out on the road. So it's a significant time for us. We're casting a wide net when it comes to looking for personnel. We're using the internet, Maine municipal website. We go to job fairs. We're reaching out to all the colleges, military. So far, however, to be honest, word of mouth continues to be our best tool, and having our officers reach out to people that they, what we keep saying to our officers is find somebody that you think would be good, that you'd want to work with, that'll help this community. And so far that's been working for us. And we're holding our own. We hired Officer Justin Lavoy in May. I started by telling you we've lost 3 officers since the beginning of the year. We've also hired, we hired Officer Lavoy in May, Officer Dosty in July, and as of right now, Monday, if this officer passes their pre-employment physical, we'll be bringing another officer on as early as Tuesday. So holding our own at the moment, and as long as that goes through on Monday, we'll just be 1 down. Our full complement will be 16 officers, and if everything works out next week, we'll be up to 15, which, to be honest with you, I'm happy with right now. We only have 3 field trainers, so we can only deal with 3 at the moment as it is. So that's where we stand with new hires. Retention, because of what I just said, is always a challenge. And we try to focus with our officers on training, keeping them challenged by offering a lot of training to them. We have the training room next door, so we host a lot of training. By hosting training, you usually get free slots in that, so we're able to put our officers through a significant amount of training to try to keep them active and keep them busy, keep them happy here. The new contract that you're all aware of also helps with retention, so I appreciate that from all of you that supported that new contract. It's a new 3-year contract, keeps our wages competitive with other local agencies, so we shouldn't be losing anybody because of that. And, one other piece to retention, I had to let go of a old bias that I've had recently, and you might notice our officers are growing beards now, or some of the officers are growing beards. And so when I came here, I said there wouldn't be any beards, and I've let that go because I don't want to lose somebody good because of a beard issue. So I'll move on from that one. One of the other challenges that we've had is with leadership. And when I bring up leadership, what I'm talking about is between myself, the lieutenant, and our two sergeants, we average about 32 years of law enforcement experience, each of us. So we got 4 of us with roughly 32 years of experience. And then after that, the most senior officer on the Thompson PD has 7 years of law enforcement experience. So we got a big separation between us all. And the obvious problem with that is 4 of us that are all in leadership positions could leave at any time. We need to work harder to build leaders and create new leadership opportunities. One of the ways that we have done that is with what we call an OIC program, which is Officer in Charge program. And because of the new contract that we just got, we're able to implement this program. We're just getting it started. And what it's going to do is any officer on the PD that's got at least 3 years on can apply for this position. And we just set the date today. They're going to be going through a written exam in September, followed by an oral board, and then an administrative review by the lieutenant and I on their prior evaluations. Once that is completed, we will then be able to add certain officers that will be allowed to be left in charge if a sergeant is gone. So it will be a good opportunity for us to start giving leadership opportunities to patrolmen to prepare them for the future. So we're also working on that. Our biggest push since, well, it'll be 2 years for me here in September, continues to be outreach opportunities. The biggest challenge for us as law enforcement officers is making positive contact with people. We spend 90% of our time dealing with the same 10% of the public, generally speaking. So we're trying to get to that other 90% of the people that generally don't need us, don't call us, and quite frankly, don't want us behind them when they're driving down the road or stopping at their house. So I can't really blame them. When I'm not working, I don't necessarily want one of my cruisers behind me either. So I get it. But we spend most of our time focusing on a very negative part of the population. So we really focus on outreach opportunities. The big one for us this year, with a lot of help from the fire department, public works, and the rec department, was National Night Out. It was a huge success that we're going to be following up on. Every year. It's always the first Tuesday of August. We're following up on it next year. I promise you it'll be bigger and better. We were so shocked with the positive response this year. So that was a big plus for us. We believe there were over 400 people, 400 attendees. So that's pretty good for a first year event like that. We ran out of food, ran out of water, ran out of just about everything. So we'll be expanding that next year. Thompson Fair, we did a lot of outreach there. If anybody was there, at least one of you was, you would have seen us every night. We were walking through there, just making contact with people, talking to people. Stores, I'm always suggesting to our officers, stop at a store, just talk to people. Again, we're trying to make more positive contacts. Memorial Day Parade, if you didn't notice, one of our officers had some kids from the high school that were riding in the lead cruiser. Just another positive opportunity. Local churches, over this past year, we partnered with local churches. They gave us blankets and some bags with supplies for the homeless. So we now have those in our cars. The blankets have little stuffed animals in them. So if we have a child that's in a crash or we run into them in another scenario, we can give them a blanket and a little stuffed animal, as well as the bags for the homeless. We do a lot of safety talks. We go out with the Easter Bunny at Parks and Rec, as well as Santa when it comes. So we're doing as much as we can, to be honest with you, to have positive outreach with everybody, just as much as, so I have to focus on the negative, obviously. So with that being said, the only other thing I had briefly to talk about was we just got started with what we call MLEAP, which is the Maine Law Enforcement Accreditation process. I came in front of you a while back just to tell you we wanted to apply for the grant, which you approved. We received the grant, which was for $5,000. The state reimburses us, or Maine Municipal reimburses us $2,500 right up front. We've already started the process to work with the private company to get the accreditation started. Takes a while. It's mostly administration heavy, which means we're going through all of our policies, making sure they're up to date and following best practices, nationally recognized best practices across the country. So we're working on that. We're probably looking at about a year before we'll be ready to receive the accreditation, but it's a big positive step forward. So with that being said, in a nutshell, that's what I planned on talking to you all about, but if you have any questions, more than happy to answer them.
I saw on television, which I think is a good idea. Well, people might not, or parents might not, but it was demonstrating parents teaching their children how to react if there is somebody that goes into the school with an, or they're feeling threatened with an armed weapon. And they had a child in a protective backpack that they could hold in front of them if there was something, and how to hide and what to do and not say a word, and they role play with that. I think that's a great idea without scaring the children, but I think it's proactive. And maybe whenever you have time, maybe see something like that to do and train. But I thought it was an excellent idea because the kids are so defenseless.
We started working last year with the school, and obviously they've had a change in the administration. But we started working with the previous administration, had a pretty big group together. Progress was slow, I'll be honest, but we started, making some headway. Now they've changed administration. We actually have a meeting, I think it's next week, where we're going to talk with the new administrator and pick up where we left off and start moving forward. So we're trying to work with the school with this. Progress is slow, change is hard, but yeah, we are. I appreciate you saying that. We are trying to work with that.
Roland?
Chief, thanks for the update as far as the leadership program too. I think that's a great idea, and I'm really looking forward to hearing updates as it progresses.
Thank you.
That's it. Good job.
Outstanding.
Thank you, good job.
I'd like to introduce Hap Stelling. He's Thompson's new planning and codes director. Hap's been here for a little over 2 weeks now. I can say he got involved in the community real quick. I think it was his second week here, and he volunteered several nights at the Thompson Fair. You're stealing my thunder. In several different roles. I just want to say we're happy to have Hap, and he'd like to say a few words.
Thanks, Dirk, and through the chair, I'm Hap Stelling, the Director of Planning, and it's great to be here and to have the opportunity to introduce myself to all you folks and to others in the room. As Derek mentioned, I'm actually into week 3, my time here in Thompson, and it's been a bit of a steep learning curve, including selling tickets and working the pan game at the fair. And if the chief doesn't want to reveal his age, I'm most certainly not going to reveal mine. I'm very blessed to have a great staff in the planning department, including Kate, who is here tonight to do a presentation on an extension to a sidewalk on the Thompson Fair Mall Road. Our work includes both development control and forward planning. And I'm just going to speak briefly about some of those initiatives and kind of sum it up with some of the work that Tom is doing in code enforcement. So on the development control front, we've got a number of files that are in front of us, including the 715 Augusta Road subdivision, which is a final plan that we are now working on. The market basket file, which I'm sure you are all familiar with. We've received the site plan, and we're working with the proponents of that to advance that file in the Thompson Fair Mall neighborhood. The Augusta Road Solar Project is in front of us again for reapproval, so that just means that it was previously approved by the planning board. And because the permit expired, it's back in front of us and the planning board for reapproval. Thompson Mobile Home neighborhood has an expansion project, and we have a preliminary plan of subdivision for that expansion in front of us. And one of the big projects we're working on, and this really is a development control, but it's forward planning is a recode initiative. I hope you folks are familiar with that. It's basically an initiative to align our comprehensive plan so that it addresses the challenges that have arisen with the administration of the zoning code over the years, and so that it is better aligned with the direction the comprehensive plan is taking us in. And lastly, code enforcement. I didn't bring the statistics that Tom produces for the planning board every couple of weeks, but suffice it to say that Tom is a very busy professional. I myself am quite amazed at all he's able to get done in a row today and a row a week. So that members of the select board is my concise presentation, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
It's a lot for 3 weeks.
Welcome.
Well, thank you.
Roland, anything?
Just that it's always great to have data and in these presentations, and I find it very helpful. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hal.
Okay.
We'll see you soon.
Okay, thanks again.
We'll go easy on the first
The
one.
first one. If there is any public comment at this time. Anyone have any correspondence?
I did have a couple, and one in particular was they were questioning the cost to send their kids to recreation programs, so I referred them to do it. And the other one was just on the tax, the property form, so I answered that.
Any adjustments to the agenda? Consent calendar, approval of the minutes, of the regular select board meeting, July 21, 2022.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Oh, no,
Yes, you got
sorry,
me.
she was close. All those in favor? Oh, you know what, Patty? Because Roland's out, you have to do all the votes tonight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can do that. Are we ready to vote?
Yes, we're ready. to
All
vote.
right, David Douglas, you in favor of accepting the minutes?
I am.
I need to say that there was a change that you guys didn't catch, but down to the bottom of the page numbers, I didn't have the correct page number, and it is corrected now, so I'll say as corrected with that work.
Patty, I'm gonna tell you, I've never read a page number on it.
All right. I just
Whatever
wanted to be perfect. Thank you. Okay, Marie Brilliant, it's not in favor. Okay, Ruth Lyons, in favor. Okay. And Roland, I assume you're in favor since you.
In favor. Yes, thank you.
Here. That is unanimous.
All right, thank you, Patty.
Of those present.
All that you do. Public hearing is up next. 2259, consideration any appropriate action on application for a special amusement permit for 104 Maine Public House, and I'll just give everyone an update. So when we gavel into a public hearing, if anyone has any questions or comments that they would like to make towards the special amusement permit for or against, that is your moment to speak. Once I gavel out, all conversation will only take place between board members. But if you're here with 104, you get to talk anytime we ask you. Oh, you're not with 104?
I am.
Oh, no, we-
Anybody else with one?
well, I don't.
Anybody retired?
So I will open the public hearing, consideration any appropriate action on the application for special amusement permit for 104 Maine Public House. Is there anyone for the public who wants to make any statements, ask any questions? So I'm gonna ask you to come up because I do have, which I left on the counter, so I'm gonna read them on my phone. The picture was sent to me. So I always ask the same things to make sure as we do this, the air capacity and such.
This gentleman's name, please.
Yes, how do you like your name?
Matthew Kenny?
Thank you.
All right, so. Sorry, I'm managing two pieces here that I'm not used to doing. Next, the entertainment, did I see that it was Friday and Saturday, is that accurate?
Should be anytime.
That's right, because we talked about that, like, yeah,
Until 10 p.m.
yeah, I remember that last year.
And most of the people I have that play, if they're inside, they're done at 9. If they're outside, they're done by 9:30. So usually it's the pre-state with that 10 o'clock.
The hours of operation, just as you said. On the, you guys just, so inside, you don't move furniture, you put them in a corner.
Yeah.
And outside's the park.
Outside the parks, yeah. No problem.
Sorry, I have to write this all.
Sorry.
Size roughly of the inside.
Inside, it's about 75 to 80 people.
Okay, well, there's capacity.
Yeah.
And then the distances,
Like about, like in the dining or the whole building.
dining room.
Dining room, it's probably about
40 by 30.
30,000, 3,000.
Okay. Yes, there is, I mean, there's adequate parking. You guys have made that work. Well.
Yeah.
Liquor license expired in 22. Did I see that you applied and gotten?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just bear with me. I'm dealing with this. That's all I have for my form that I fill out, and I'll submit to Patty. We also have letters from police, fire, and codes that everything's good, and has no issue. So if nobody else wants to speak on this, I'll gavel out of the public hearing, and then we'll go at it. Public hearing is closed. So I will read a conclusion. Based on the findings, it is concluded that the issuance of a special amusement permit would not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or would violate municipal ordinances, rules, or regulations. Does the board agree?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion. I make a motion that the application for a special amusement permit for 104 Maine be granted as meeting requirements of Maine revised statutes, Title 25-A, Section 1054, the Thompson Code, Chapter 71, Article 1, Section 6 and 7.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Patty, would you, when you're done,
Oh,
take a vote?
okay, I'll be happy to. David Douglas,
I am in favor.
Marie Brilliant, in favor. Ruth Lyons,
Okay.
Roland Tufts.
In favor.
Okay, unanimously in favor.
Thank you, Patty. I appreciate it. Hopefully another successful year.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Everyone, I'll get this on that's the one that I'll email over. Sorry. Because I don't.
Unexpected.
Unfinished business, none, old business, we're on to new business, look at us cruise, 22-60, consideration, any appropriate action. On Thompson Fair Mall Road sidewalk connection from Panera to Buffalo Wild Wings. Need help?
No, Mark, can you promote me so I can share my screen?
Honestly.
Okay. Also have a paper copy of this, if anyone would like to see, it was in your packet.
Color too.
And color, yeah. And I also brought a copy of the plan, just in case anyone would like to see that. Okay, let me. You've disabled my screen share.
I think I disabled switch.
Okay, and I'm muted, so we shouldn't have like that psychedelic. Okay.
Give permission now.
So. And everybody see this, Roland, can you see what was that?
Yes, again, thanks.
So, what I am coming to you with is, last year, the planning board approved a car wash to be constructed on this empty lot across from Panera and Smitty's. As part of Topham zoning code, they are required to build a sidewalk along the front of their parcel, which is this, greenish line in the drawing. But that leaves us in a situation where we would have a sidewalk that ends right here. And that's kind of in the middle of the street and doesn't go anywhere. Now, the Thompson Fairmall Road Master Plan envisions the sidewalk the entire length of this street. And we do have additional development coming in on this side of the street, including Market Basket, which will be kind of south of where this map ends. So what we are proposing is to have the developer who's building this sidewalk build it all the way to the connection where there is an existing sidewalk that leads into this strip mall that they can connect into. And that the town would pay from our various traffic impact and pedestrian funds to have the developer build that remaining piece of the sidewalk. That way we wouldn't have a sidewalk that ends in the middle of the street, and that way we kind of be able to build this all in one piece while construction is happening here, instead of having to find a time for our public works to build this piece of sidewalk at a later date. The estimated cost that we got earlier this year was $56,550 for this portion and kind of pink. And yeah, those are the basic facts. I'm happy to give more details or answer any questions.
So what are the possibilities? What's our options to tell the car wash? Do they have to build a sidewalk, or do they have another option, or can we request another option that we don't want it?
They have to build a sidewalk. They did not choose to seek a waiver for this provision, or so they would have to choose to go back to the planning board and request a waiver to no longer build a sidewalk. They chose to build a sidewalk as part of their approval process.
Okay.
So the developer has no issue with carrying that forward from where they are.
No, we did check in with them about it previously, and they are okay with doing the work if we pay for our portion.
I will just say, I think the fact that we are asking a car wash, which does not cater to pedestrians, to build a sidewalk, is extremely short-sighted on the town's portion, that we don't give another option without them having to come back before the planning board for this. This is still going to be a sidewalk to nowhere, just as that across the street we've spent money on, and we've made a sidewalk to nowhere, which we're pretty good at that in this town apparently. You say it connects to the Buffalo Wild Wings Cancer Center. I don't see a whole lot of pedestrian traffic using walking into urgent care, walking to their treatment center. Where there is no sidewalk that this car wash is paying for. Further up the road into Smitty's, there's no sidewalk on that entire end of that entire road in. There's a sidewalk across the street. But nowhere else along the way is there a sidewalk. And I know it's in our master plan, and I know it's in the comp plan, but it doesn't mean it always makes sense. That's my take. I don't see that this is a good use of taxpayer money. I don't believe it's a good use of this business to have to build a sidewalk for people that they don't cater to. And I can't tell you if they knew that they could come, ask for a waiver or whatever. But it just doesn't make sense to me to spend this money. So, we always talk about every time we add sidewalks, it adds plowing, it adds upkeep. So now we're gonna be plowing down this one section of the road through the entire Thompson Fair Mall, the opposite side of the road. And now we're gonna come back and we're gonna plow just this tiny little corner here. I don't see a need, I don't understand the need for having this sidewalk. So that's my take on this entire thing. I'm not gonna support it, and I understand it's in the comp plan, but the comp plan isn't the Bible. It's suggestions. This just doesn't seem to make any sense to me. So that's my take.
Well, I've spoken on sidewalks before. Sidewalks in this town have been reactionary. We've asked our public works to do it, and they've done it, and they've done it well, and they haven't complained. But I tend to agree, it's a sidewalk to nowhere at the moment, and I should think we think out a whole plan for sidewalks for that area as it grows. And
when Kate, maybe you weren't familiar because it was a while back. Why wouldn't the treatment center, Buffalo Wild Wings, why wouldn't they have had to put in sidewalks in front of their building?
They requested a waiver from the planning board, and they paid a fee in lieu for it, which is sort of the second part. What happened with that is, so for this sort of the pink portion up to about here, I'm not sure exactly where the parcel line is. Roughly that pink portion, they paid a fee in lieu of $15,000 in 2007 for not building that sidewalk there. So we have, but now this entire pink portion costs $56,000. So that's kind of what happens when these things get.
Which we have no problem with. We'll give in lieu, we'll collect your money
Yeah,
and sit on it.
I think one of the issues here is when they took that payment in lieu, the prices back then probably reflected the cost of the project. As with these inflationary pressures, they're just increasing the cost of materials as well as labor. So here's the difference. So the intent of the payment in lieu for that particular complex with the care center is to go to this project that's currently, hopefully planned for Kate's proposal. The traffic impact fee fund that we have right now, if we're getting less bang for the buck, the more we wait. This is an opportunity to connect that particular parcel up to the cinemas and frankly, the rest of the Thompson Mall area, where all of the shops are. Another part of this with that traffic study that was done in 2017, it also didn't account for all the new traffic impact that we possibly have with Market Basket and a few other sites. By extending this, by putting this sidewalk in, kind of narrows the road a bit for traffic calming or speed mitigation measures. So these are points that also were not brought up earlier. So to leave the sidewalk there, we're gonna have to do it eventually. Well, we got the same problem that you just mentioned, that we have sidewalks nowhere. This road was probably provide continuity and potentially, as we progress, maybe continuity all the way up to Market Basket or anything else that's developed on that road.
I see one other thing that kind of bothers me, and hopefully there's some basis for it. You have a car wash that probably is not a high profit by the time they pay for everything. And we're asking them to do this, so it drives up the price, because there's gonna be a cost. That cost is gonna go into the cost of doing all this, and they've got to recover it somehow over a period of time. And I should think a short period of time. So I just think the burden, there's a lot of burden on the car wash myself. I just feel that where is that impact money or the money that we got 15,000 and other monies we've got? Is that in a special pot?
We do have money to pay for this, and there's a couple different pots. We have a pedestrian improvement reserve account that's been sitting for a while. The amount of about $21,000. We have traffic impact fees, which are primarily, I believe, for the majority of it from the Thompson Fairmont area, an amount of $85,000. We also have the municipal interchange tip reserve account that we have money for specifically for this district.
So to follow up with that, I see somebody developing this. I don't know if they're experienced in developing car wash, but it seems to me they're a little naive to say, yeah, we'll do that portion of it. So, and I do agree with more plowing and more things put on the public works. However, I do like the idea of sidewalks eventually coming and going along as it develops. But I'm not sure, I think it's fair for the car wash to have to foot the bill when the rest have not, and they would have the advantage of it.
They've chosen to construct the sidewalk along their parcel, already.
It is in our code.
Yes.
okay?
As
So,
required.
by not having them do it, are we also waiving other businesses from coming in and not either constructing a sidewalk or paying a fee? So I would ask if this weren't to happen, what's the expectation? Is it to go back to the planning board and ask for a waiver?
Or not do anything?
We can ask the planning board to waive it.
Okay,
The applicant would have to do that.
There is a sidewalk on the other side of the road, right?
there is, and when I went down there with Kate to take a look, it does provide continuity. It's not just the car wash, it's Panera, it's Hannaford, it's the movie theater. It's somebody, for instance, I know that I'd probably like to frequent Buffalo Wild Wings and then go catch a movie. We're down in Target, go catch a movie. I mean, so it does provide continuity on one side of the street. It appears to be safer than crossing that road and going to a sidewalk that's across the street, and you eventually have to cross back over to the other side. So those are my only observations.
And Market Basket will be going in on that side of the street, south of Target, and they will be constructing sidewalk in front of their parcel and other pedestrian kind of walkways to access the supermarket. So while this is a bit of a awkward first spot, there's sidewalk coming on that side of the street, and kind of got to start somewhere.
We could start by using our traffic impact fees to fix the road, I guess, instead of putting sidewalks to nowhere. I don't know, I just think this boils down to the thought of, you think somebody going from Buffalo Wild Wings to the movie theater on the sidewalk, when anytime we go through that mall, you do not find, you're gonna find this sporadic pedestrian. You're not finding pedestrians. This is not a pedestrian rich place. Nobody's swinging by Home Depot and grabbing supplies for their weekend project. This is the kind of stuff that just, I think is, communities are so incredibly, they want this item, this special item, but it's short-sighted to the long term, that it becomes wasteful.
Well, the sidewalk that's there is on the side of the pedestrian, the residents. And the building, that new development is on that side of the road.
I mean, so everyone along the way has decided to never ever put a sidewalk in, right? Panera never chose to, Jersey Mike's isn't. anything up through there, they haven't done. And when we bite this, the second we bite this $56,000, we're biting and committing to that additional 3/4 of a mile. Right? Essentially, probably because nobody ever did it before, now it's on the taxpayer. Right, because we didn't, and I get it, I'm not saying it's anyone's issue, we all sat at a town meeting and something passed or whatever it is. But this, when that happens, when we bite into this, we are now telling taxpayers that you will now foot a bill for sidewalks from McDonald's to the car wash eventually. Because the minor sort of infill stuff. That's just my take. I don't see it as a high pedestrian area.
Well, the other thing, I understand what's being said. And there is validity to it, but I also see, and some of it's gonna happen anyway, but another extension of maintenance. And right now, sometimes we're hard pressed for people to do this stuff. And also, I should have looked at it earlier and thought about it more, but I just at this point am not in favor of it. I don't think. I think when it comes to time and see and do the foot count and stuff, for me, a better is to maintain some of the sidewalks we already have and create things like that. We talked about small cities and cities, the way they were growing, of putting in walk paths, but not sidewalks. And walk paths are more like crushed stone and stuff that people can walk, because like Marie said, there's already a sidewalk there on this side if you're going this way. So I'm not in favor of it, I guess. That's what I have to say. It looks like it's something developed and stopped. And that's what it is, right?
Well, they're just required to put the sidewalk along their parcel, which is the green line, which is why it would stop in the middle of the parcel line, dividing it here.
Right.
So as it stands, they're building this. They're planning on it. They haven't expressed any desire to not build it. It's part of their work that they're doing. So it will just stop here.
There's no sidewalk adjoining the backside of that new car wash, correct, towards Smitty's?
Sorry.
There's no sidewalk today, right there, right, towards Smitty's. So at their end line, there's no
Yeah.
connecting sidewalk today.
Their driveway will be here, and then there's like crosswalks kind of to help people cross into the Smitty's area over here.
Roland, you have anything? You're on mute.
Yeah, no, I was trying to fix it. I just think the timing is really bad on this. I mean, it's because again, you know, we're committing to money, build something that I think is not going to be utilized for a while. And I mean, long term, it probably makes a lot of sense. I just question whether, you know, it's a good use of that money today or not, or if there's, you know, something that can be planned on a larger scale that will incorporate this as well.
So that pink line would cost us 56,000. Which is a whole lot shorter than that green line. That must be costing them close to 100,000. I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They are doing a lot of site work there. As you can see, this is totally undeveloped, so I'm not really sure how those numbers shake out for a developer.
As far as you guys have gotten on Market Basket, And is it even at the stage whether they've decided they can ask for a waiver or not?
We're still going back and forth with them on their, MDOT has their sort of traffic part, then we have the site traffic part, and we're working with our traffic engineer. What they have decided on is that they will, they have planned a roundabout to enter the site that will lead to a 10-foot shared use pedestrian path that takes you, to walk down into the supermarket. So they are planning for bicycle and pedestrian access to that site.
To the site from the road, not along the road front, though,
They would be required by code to build that sidewalk.
unless they ask for a waiver. But they can do that.
They can ask for a waiver. It's up to the planning board whether or not they would vote for it.
Anyone else have any further? Make a motion, move along. Dennis, go ahead.
I don't want to get a line, just want to share an observation. Dennis talks about the public, just an observation. Just a few weeks ago, we had a resident in from the Secaucus area asking about sidewalks and crosswalks and things like that. I understand the opinion tonight by a couple of folks in the express, but I'm entertaining questions about sidewalks and when are we going to get them in our neighborhood and here, there, and everywhere. Often. So there is a concern in neighborhoods and in town for pedestrian safety. Kate mentioned you've got to start someplace in this area on that side of the road if we're going to develop a sidewalk. Okay. The developer is building in an area that has vehicle traffic, some pedestrian traffic. As it builds up, it's only going to get more. So I guess, you know, where I sit in this is the public works director, at least. They're moving into an area that's pedestrian traffic heavy and vehicle traffic heavy. The town manager spoke in regards to traffic calming by narrowing the road. The curbing will be put in place. That'll be, I'll say, intimidating to a driver. So they're going to slow down, move over. There's going to be pedestrian traffic there now on that side of the road for traffic calming. So I just share with you, it's not just a pedestrian pedestrian area being used today. But I think we need to be thinking about it long-term for development. People aren't buying Suburbans, they're buying Priuses. They're buying smaller cars, they're buying bicycles, they're looking for alternatives. There's more people walking today than there ever has been. And I think it's only going to continue to grow. So I, as a department head, at least can back the concept of a sidewalk on that side. I really can. Folks that go to McDonald's, walk over from the mall, they walk across the street to get to Arby's. So there is pedestrian traffic. You know, what do we see? Do we see as much? No, but I think it's only going to grow as we continue to provide pedestrian traffic. The other day, there was a whole family walking from the tire store on the corner of Park Avenue, Park Drive, and in the Mall Road, heading across the street from there. I was one of those that stopped for them in a crosswalk right there. So they're out there, and I think we need to provide for it myself, but that's up to you folks to decide. We do have impact fees in the area that are collecting them. It's not like we're going to go out and ask the taxpayer to pick up the cost of that now. There's other alternatives for that funding that's already collected. There already is money for this. There's not going to be an added cost to the taxpayer per se tomorrow if this is agreed upon tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis.
All I say is these sidewalks, it's been an issue for a while. We've always been reactionary pretty much to sidewalks, and some of them haven't been well, like Wilson Street, for instance. It just narrowed that road so bad that it was not really thought out well. And that's what I don't want to see. And because he's willing, because it's in the comprehensive plan stuff, and I agree with Dennis, eventually there's going to be more traffic, well, pedestrian traffic. But I also agree there's crosswalks in a lot of places, and there's a sidewalk on the other side. So it's going to take you more manpower as those sidewalks keep growing. Public Works.
Refusal.
Now, this ad, that sidewalk's probably ain't going anyways, without a connection. So no matter how we look at it,
Right.
Public Works is gonna maintain what's there, might as well continue to stay.
Okay,
The monies, whether, sidewalks outside of that area may be a different story right now, because we don't have dedicated funds strictly for that.
right.
We have money allocated to Thompson Fair Mall, or, but I should say, dedicated to that area.
Ruth, I would, not that I'm looking to change my mind, maybe I will, maybe I won't, but. I mean, if you say. Because I'm the opposite, I don't believe that pedestrian traffic is gonna grow. In this area. But if you say it's eventually gonna grow. And this, a handful of years ago, was a much smaller rate, much smaller number, Buffalo Wild Wings and all them paid. It would make sense that you do it now, but if you believe it's gonna grow, to do it now.
And I'm just thinking the whole process up.
Yeah.
I don't like this, however, I do believe it's gonna grow, and I'll tell you why. When Market Basket and eventually what they want to do is. And it might be 10 years down the road, but there will be apartments or some kind in that area. I believe that. And people will be walking to the market, they'll be walking to different places in that area. So I do believe there'll be more pedestrian traffic, and it could be in 5 years, could be in 10 years. And I'm on the fence right now. I'll tell you right, I just,
Well, I found Dennis's comments very helpful.
yes,
Yeah, it makes me think about, this is something that maybe building today for may not be immediate usage, but certainly is going to see use. And I think, Ruth's comment about, potential housing in some place in that area, and the fact that, you get a different dynamic when you have that grocery store in here. I think I can probably support this, based on that line of thinking that I've got now.
and the other thing I have to reply to Dennis and all the neighborhoods. If it's justifiable. On Sokoka Circle and all the places they ask you. They've got to come forward with a plan to do it. But how do you prioritize what they're gonna do? You can't do them all at once. So. You did. Make some sense, Dennis. My whole thinking, I forgot that I know there's been talk just from the development world. That they do want some housing there. And I don't know how many units, but it's been a lot of talk, and I think you're gonna see that because. The businesses, the developers do not want to keep building business offices. Because it's not, retail is not where it's at. And retail is shrinking, so therefore they're going for the market of more of community housing, grocery store. And other amenities that would help them. So that. To me, should be, I just don't like the way it is now, so.
Yeah, we do have, it's this part, there's, up by Park Drive is where we've had a lot of inquiries about housing
Right.
apartments going in. I actually heard from the engineer today. Who said that they're still working on bringing that forward soon. So I think. Yeah, I think that, it is a little bit of a weird first place, but, it is kind of putting it on Dennis later. And what you mentioned about Sokoka is I think when these developments go in, we usually have an opportunity as they're doing work to have some of these improvements be made. For example, Market Basket is going to do some pedestrian improvements, so these kind of give us an opportunity where the town doesn't have to put 100% of the bill to do some of these improvements. So that's kind of the reasoning behind looking at doing this now.
So. Maybe a compromise, but no end result. Dennis, could this take place this year? This fall?
With this building,
Are they gonna, will they get the?
I believe so.
I believe the plan is to get it in before winter.
Yep.
They were waiting for an answer. And if we're gonna connect or not. The other piece is too, is Dennis plans on doing a skin coat of Thompson Fair Mall. Is it this year and
We're hoping to do it this fall before snow
this
falls.
fall? This is part of it when this came up, is that's gonna determine public down to where that connection is. All of that.
What are the steps, sorry, what are the steps this board can take to request, can we request the planning board no longer allow waivers? Take that to town meeting, that, yeah, we just gotta go ask planning board to bring it to an ordinance, I would take it. That we no longer allow waivers, if you're a business and you're required, you can no longer pay an in lieu fee. If we're gonna go down this road, we better go down this road, because we see where it's come, right? You know, just a couple of years ago, nobody put anything in. And if we're gonna buy into this, we need to say no more.
Yeah, I mean, that's how, other municipalities do have that, where you have to build the sidewalk unless there's some massive site, you know, unless you're like in front of a waterfall or something, so that is certainly a good way to go about it, and, since I'm new here, I can say the reason why there's no sidewalk on the side is because people were happily just doing the inland fee route, and if we had been stricter about it before, we'd already have a sidewalk on the side of the road.
Wasn't there a battle to put a sidewalk in Home Depot?
Yeah.
That because everyone, so we were gonna make people use it. So if I'm gonna vote for this, I would make a motion that we, along with this, send a request to the planning board that they draw something up. If you can write a little out, but I don't know if I'm going to, but that they look at eliminating the in lieu fee for sidewalks in this district. Either we're going in or we're not gonna go in, is the only way to get money in. So.
Is that a motion?
No, it's not a motion. We good to make a motion, I guess. I'm gonna regret this. I will make a motion. Using reserve funds, however the town manager laid out. That this portion of the sidewalk is constructed. Along with. A directive to the planning director to bring to the planning board. A request by this board. To eliminate. All waiving of fees for sidewalks in this area. And however they lay that out. What road, that's their specialty. When we're talking the Thompson Fair Mall area. So we're gonna do it, we're gonna go in.
Could I just ask for clarification? Is it just in the Thompson Fair Mall area or throughout the town as a whole?
No, just this side of the road on the mall. Because everything else is already sidewalk. Of this main drag. So that's a motion. I don't know if anyone wants to, oh, we did get a second. Patty,
Okay,
do it up.
here's the motion. So David Douglas, you in favor of your motion?
Yeah.
Marie Brilliant? In favor or opposed? Bruce Lyons?
Same as Marie.
In
In
favor. And Mr. Tufts,
In favor.
unanimously. in favor.
Thank you, Patty. We will go down in history. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. 2261, consideration and appropriate action to approve certain personal property tax write-offs. Mr. Manager.
Yeah, request that we refer this to the next select board meeting. We reached out to a collection agency that works with municipalities in Maine. They charge 30% of the total collected as their fee. And we'd like to present an agreement with the collection agency for your approval at the next meeting with additional information. The town has not written off, as you see in the finance director's memo, or aggressively pursued any personal property collections since about 2010. And we would like to pursue these as much as possible, although these are a little bit old, we may not get questions on them, we'd like to try. The collections agency will hopefully collect some of the unpaid taxes and hopefully compel existing businesses to pay in the future. So we'd like to give it a shot, and we'll present the agreement to you. We didn't have enough time to get it to you before tonight. So we'd like to table that until September 1st, if that's okay.
I make a motion to table 22-61.
Second,
Motion and seconded. Can we call it?
David Douglas, in
In
favor, opposed,
In favor.
Marie Brilliant,
In favor?
Ruth Lyons,
In favor.
and Roland Tubbs.
in favor.
Thanks, Patty. 22-62, consideration any appropriate action to purchase 2 police cruisers. Chief.
Evening, Mark Hagan, Chief of Police. As a brief refresher, you may recall the memo that I sent on August 8th stating that we were allocated funding in the budget to purchase 2 Ford hybrid SUV interceptors in the 2023 fiscal year. Beginning of July, we started reaching out to various dealers to see what the pricing was going to be for the 2023 Fords. And we were repeatedly told that Ford had not released the price yet. So as we came around to the end of the month, we started reaching out to see if anybody had any leftover 2022 Interceptors. And were again advised that there were none in stock. Late July, I reached out to the Colonial Municipal Group, which is out of Marlborough, Mass, and asked if they had any leftover cruisers. And at the time, they had 2 black gas-powered 2022 Ford Interceptors, and they had 6 black gas-powered 2021s, all left over in stock. And they sent us budget quotes. They sent us quotations for those. First week of August comes around, Ford finally releases their pricing for the 2023s, which is both gas-powered and hybrid. So then we started reaching out to other dealers in Maine to get prices for the new cars. At the same time, I reached back out to Colonial Municipal Group to tell them that we were looking for other prices, asked if they still had anything left from my previous conversation with him a couple weeks earlier. And he said they were down to 3 black 2021 Ford SUVs. And he said they were getting calls from all over because nobody can come up with any vehicles. So at that point, I begged him to hold on to at least 2 of them until we could find out what was going on. I had to give him some police cups and some pins and so forth, but he agreed to hold 2 of them until I could get in front of you all tonight. So I've since reached out to and received quotes from Ford dealers, which you have in front of you. If you would like, since Roland's here, and it took a while to get those, he doesn't have them in front of him, I can read them out loud to Roland, so he has the quotes. So, Roland, the Colonial Municipal Group out of Massachusetts, for 2021 cars, per car, it's $34,959.85. Those are 2021s that they have in stock on their lot. Quirk Auto Group, they have some 2022s still on order. And they are set to be built at the end of September right now by Ford. So they're still building 2022s. We don't have a delivery date for those, but Quirk is giving us a price of $35,860.88 per unit. Casco Bay Ford gave us a quote for 2 2023 hybrid Ford SUVs. Their quote is $43,907 per unit. But they can't give us an estimated delivery dates due to commodity issues with Ford. Yankee Ford gave us also a price for 2 23s hybrids. They are at $46,000 per unit. And they told us that they anticipate Ford to build these in November or December, but the delivery date would be unknown. Darlings out of Brunswick did not reply to our request for a price quote, and Roe Auburn also did not respond to our request for a price quote. I should also tell you, It was in the memo, but just as a point of reference, last September, we ordered a 2022 hybrid. And we put it on the road finally the week of August 8th. Due to build issues, delivery issues. It's basically almost a year to get that vehicle on the road. So, with all that being said, we are requesting permission, and I should tell you this right up front. I have nothing against hybrids. I was fine buying hybrids. I'm fine if we move forward with hybrids. My issue is, right now, with the state of affairs we are in with vehicles, to wait probably another year to get these two cars. I am asking that we go back to just allowing this purchase of two 2021 gas-powered cruisers that are being held right now on the lot in Massachusetts. I would normally want to go with a Maine dealer. The only issue I have is if we went with Quirk, we can move up a year to 2022s, but we're still looking at Ford is planning on building them at the end of September. That could change, and then we don't know delivery dates. The other piece that I didn't put in my memo is rather than trade in the two vehicles that we'd be looking to get rid of, we'd rather sell them outright. And that's just a matter of, it's easier for us right now. The Ford dealership in Massachusetts, we don't have any relationship with. If we purchase these cars, they're gonna want, if we were gonna do a trade, they would want the cars right away. We would be without those cars until we could get everything built. So we would rather just sell these cars outright with the closed bid process after we were done with the older cars. If that makes sense.
Is the equipment in those cars compatible to these new ones?
So no, because the cars we'll be getting rid of, one of them is the car that I drive, which is a 2016. That's the oldest car in our fleet. Ford has since changed everything since then. They made the cars different, but we've had to buy all new equipment. So, and then we'd also be getting rid of a 2017. So for the last 2 years, we've had to buy all new equipment. That's what we would have to do again for these two cars, is get new equipment for the vehicles. It's all within budget. We have everything budgeted. It's just a matter of whether you folks agree with my assessment of the situation.
Chief, I didn't go back and look at my warrant. We didn't put on the warrant hybrid, did we?
No.
Okay, so
It was,
this is just a straight bid process in my opinion.
it was part of the budget process,
Right.
saying we were gonna have two
Yeah.
hybrids and that was it.
We prefer, but when they don't show up for a year, then you can't get them. I'm just saying to you, if we didn't say the word hybrid, we know the process we're going through. You've explained it. I have no issue with going with the 2 units in mass. You can try to do some things, but if they're not there, that's no good to you, and we can't keep putting vehicles off because of the rotation and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
we're already gonna get 3 police cruisers within 4 weeks, which may mess up our rotation anyway, but.
I agree, we gotta move forward and we gotta, next year, we gotta start really, if things are available, pursue those hybrids. But I don't think there's any choice, and if it wasn't in the warrant or anywhere in the minutes that we were doing hybrids, and
Yeah, I'm fine with this.
I don't think we ever want to specify what they.
I don't think we did.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. All right, so I'll make a motion that we award the bid to Colonial Municipal Group in Marlboro, Mass. For two Ford SUVs, total cost $69,919.70.
Second,
Motion seconded. Patty,
David Douglas,
I'm in.
in favor. Marie Brilliant, Ruth
in
Lyons,
favor.
and Mr. Taps.
In favor.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you all.
2263, consideration any appropriate action on approving the submitted bid for fire department brush truck skid unit. It's like the first time all night, we're not gonna talk about late deliveries.
I know, this is installed. Good evening, Chris McLaughlin, Fire Chief. You have the quotes for me. Direct from the manufacturer was 18,662, Greenwood was 17,990, and Fire Tech was 18,715. Don't ask me why Greenwood was cheaper rather than direct, but it was. So, it's a standard CET fire pump. And that was approved in town meeting.
Anyone have any questions? I make a motion that we award the bid for CET skid units to Greenwoods for $17,990.
Second,
Motion seconded.
Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
Marie Brilliant. Ruth Lyons.
In favor.
Roland Towns.
in favor.
We haven't been on this in a long time. Thanks. Chief.
Yeah, I'm staying right.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
Consideration 2264, consideration, any appropriate action on approving a grant award from FEMA for town hall generator.
Good evening. So it was probably a couple months ago, I came to you saying there was an opportunity to get a generator for town hall. Several municipalities around us have done that. I got permission to apply. It was a 50% match. At the time, the quote was $102,225. Since then, the price of the generator has gone up. But that difference is $1,500. So that's really not terrible considering the price of everything. So the total price was $103,725. FEMA had the $102,000 number. They paid 50% of that.
And just a reminder, we have enough money to cover the remaining through our reserve in that account that we've had for a while.
So Chief, so is FEMA gonna only give 50% based on 102?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we just do this, all right, I got it.
Yeah, I just need approval to accept the award from them.
Yeah.
I can send the paper up to MEMA, then they send us the funds, make a deal.
Net generators for,
It'll be for this building.
This
that's
building.
what I thought, and I'm 100% in favor of that.
I'll make a motion that we accept the approval of the FEMA grant generator. Total cost $103,725 with 50% match. By the town. Motion seconded.
Mr. Douglas.
Yes. I'm in favor.
Ruth Lyons.
In favor.
Marie Brilliant. In favor. Roland Towns.
In favor.
And I'm saying favor.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Spending money. 2265, consideration and any appropriate action to award the bid for the purchase of front end loaders for Public Works Department and solid waste facility.
Good evening, Dennis Cox, Thompson Public Works. Moving forward with a couple items, one in the solid waste budget, one in the Public Works budget for new front end loaders. With their recommendation, we sat down, Ed Karen and myself, and put together a spec, went out to bid. We feel it's a good deal for the town. We're getting 2 units that are identical. We'll save money on service parts, things like that down the road. The difference in the cost is because the loader for the transfer site will have filled tires because of the material he may be running over with a tire and getting a flat, just so everybody's building won't be flattened. He's putting a grapple bucket, a bucket that can grab materials, not just scoop them up, because that's the way he has to handle his demolition debris, things like that out there. He's getting a snowplow blade as well on the front of his. But both units will be identical and can be, the equipment on his could be used on the public works folks. Went out to bid, we're recommending the low bid. For both units came from Milton Cat, and they're both within the $225,000 budget. So we'd like to recommend to the select board approve the purchase for Milton Cat for the 2 loaders.
I'll make a motion that we approve 2 loaders from Milton Cat, 162,555 for Public Works and 188,945 for solid waste.
Second.
Motion and seconded.
Mr. Douglas.
Yes, I am in favor.
Ms. Brilliant. In favor. Ms. Lyons.
In favor.
And Mr. Towns.
In favor.
Oh, in favor. Unanimous.
Thanks, Patty. Now for my favorite night in August, 2266, consideration and any appropriate action on the contract to award the town's winter sand bid in August. Thank you.
It's that time of the year for the public works to start thinking about the winter season. It will be upon us sooner than we think. Been out to bid for winter sand this year. Cop Excavation bid on it, and so did Country Fair. We did not hear back from another company that we normally hear back from, a contractor. Low bid was by Country Fair, and I'm recommending their purchase. We have a lump sum of $16,500 in the account, so we'll just buy approximately 1,200 yards, 1,200 cubic yards. That will fill up our
And that's our local country fair.
Country Fair and Bowden up until one.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
Make a motion that we accept the bid from Country Fair, $13.75 per cubic yard delivered.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes, I'm in favor.
Marie Brilliant,
In favor.
Ruth
In
Lyons,
favor.
Roland House,
In favor.
unanimously in favor.
And item 2267 is consideration and any appropriate action on the appointment to the Board of Assessment Review Committee. Tonight, we interviewed Jeffrey Cannon, which will come with a lot of experience in this area of Board of Assessment Review. We even had the courage to watch part of our meeting tonight live, so that's another plus for him.
Yeah.
I would make a motion that we appoint Mr. Cannon to the Board of Assessment Review.
Mr. Douglas,
I'm in favor.
Ms. Brilliant,
In favor.
Ruth Lyons,
In favor.
Mr. Tufts.
In favor.
Unanimously in favor, and is it CANON or NN?
And then
Thank you.
now we will, executive session 2268, enter into executive session pursuant to 36 MRSA subsection title 14056 F to discuss tax acquired property. That's the motion. Do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. All those in,
All those in favor of moving into Ruth Lyons, approve, Marie Brilliant, approve, David Douglas.
Yep.
Roland Tufts.
Yes.
8:25 p.m. unanimously in favor.
thank you, Pat.
Thank you, sir.
Roland, I'm gonna send you a separate link in a second.